court sentences Vaki to 3 years. Eda Ranu responds to water concerns.
We take our water business very seriously.
And PNG Touch Teams win games opener.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and welcome to Friday's news. It's good to have your company again. Complaints of below standard drinking water in PNG's public water system prompted Eda Ranu CEO Henry Mokono to reassure all Port Moresby residents and all Pacific Games visitors, athletes and contingents that Eda Ranu's public water system has remained undisputed for the past 19 years. MTV's Alana Lay has this report.
Eda Ranu CEO Henry Mokono gave a briefing of the company's diligent efforts to deliver safe, quality water to residents every day, adding that unbiased reporting requires views from all parties involved in verifying facts and claims. Noting Eda Ranu's team of technicians and microbiologists, as well as appliance of international standards, Mokono said tap water is safe for consumption, with the quality compared with water in major Australian cities.
And I believe, and most of us know, that there have never been any waterborne or water-related diseases. There's never been any epidemic, there's never been any outbreak because of the water that you drink. Eda Ranu, as a water provider, is governed by international laws as well as a matter of practice. We must use world's best practice to deliver our water. And we take our water business very seriously. And Eda Ranu is fortunate, in fact, second to none in the Pacific.
Eda Ranu's use of international standard equipment and infrastructure, including trained personnel from the Sydney Water Corporation and daily testing of drinking water, highly compromise claims made by Team Fiji, who are currently boiling water out of fear of contamination. Mokono further insisted that tap water is, in fact, healthier than bottled water, echoing many other studies that show the environmental damage and health risks bottled water has caused.
I believe that the athletes who are coming here and the technical officials and our visitors who are in Port Moresby right now for the Pacific Game, I can rest assure you that Eda Ranu water, our water, is one of the best quality that you can get. It's even better than the bottled water that you get from the shops.
Alana Lay, National EMTV News.
Former Police Commissioner Jeffrey Vaki has been sentenced to 3 years imprisonment with hard labour. Mr. Vaki was convicted on 2 counts of contempt of court for failing to execute a warrant of arrest of Prime Minister Peter O'Neill issued by the courts last year.
Chief Justice Solomon Injia, sitting as National Court Judge, described the crime as a dangerous trend being practiced by the police before sentencing Mr. Vaki this afternoon to serve 3 years on each count to be served concurrently at the Bomana prison. Vaki was found guilty on 1 count of deliberately and willfully preventing the arrest of the Prime Minister by failing to instruct plaintiffs, Director of National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate, Matthew Damaru, and his deputy, Timothy Gitua, to execute a valid warrant of arrest issued by the District Court on the 12th of June 2014, and intentionally and willfully making public statements in the media that he would not implement the order of the District Court despite there being no legal impediments to the execution of the arrest. Leading up to the sentencing, Vaki's lawyers Greg Shepherd and Queen's Counsel John Griffin pleaded for a non-custodial prison sentence due to the complexity of the case. However, Nale lawyers, the legal representatives of the plaintiffs, argued that Vaki should be sentenced to 5 years on each count. Chief Justice Injia said today in court that a contempt of court charge is a serious criminal offence. However, his sentencing was based on mitigating factors that include Vaki's long service to the police force, his dedication and hard work that brought him to the ranks of police commissioner, his professionalism and commitment to the force and the government prior to the offences, nil prior convictions, and being a Christian father to 7 children, the youngest being 14 years of age. The Chief Justice went on to add that it was a serious, clear case of the most senior officer of the police force refusing to obey the command to arrest the most senior political leader of the country. He said this posed serious implications for law enforcement in the country by setting a bad precedence for hundreds of policemen and women under his command to accord such interpretation as they wish on a court order and execute it according to their discretion or whim. Assistant Commissioner of Police Thomas Elu told the media that the conviction of Mr. Vaki marks a sad day for the police force. He said the case is a first of its kind in the 127 years since the establishment of the PNG Royal Constabulary, as no junior officer had ever successfully convicted and sentenced a Commissioner of Police on contempt of court for failing to execute a warrant of arrest.
I'd like to appeal to every member of the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary to carry out our simple obligation, and it is simply to uphold the rule of law.
The impending warrant of arrest against the Prime Minister, however, cannot be executed immediately following the National Court's decision, as there are currently two separate orders of the courts preventing police from executing the warrant at this stage.
So our lawyers are working very hard to get those stay orders removed so that police can carry on to execute that warrant. So as I speak, the warrant is still alive, and it is yet to be executed.
It is understood that Mr. Vaki's lawyers are seeking a court bail. Vanessa Knight, National EMTV News.
And latest developments with this story, former Police Commissioner Jeffrey Vaki, who was sentenced to 3 years imprisonment with hard labour today, is now out on bail after successfully being granted court bail late this afternoon by Justice Terence Higgins. Local artist Betty Toya and husband John last night released a new song they composed especially for the Pacific Games. The song titled Welcome emphasizes the point that Papua New Guineans welcoming the fact that Pacific athletes are coming into PNG, and is sung in the local Papuan dialect. This song is believed to be one of many that will be sung to remember the 2015 Port Moresby Pacific Games.
The 7-minute song sung by Betty was composed by her husband John and took over a month to complete. It was created especially as a welcoming song from the people in other provinces to the visiting Pacific Island countries.
I've been singing for many years. Since I was a small girl, I started singing with my father, I would say, my original permanent strangers. Yes.
Betty and John are both music lovers and have been in the music industry for over a decade. Most of their songs are based on goodwill and peace and are either sung in Tokpisin, English, the local vernacular, and sometimes Motu.
We want to achieve peace from the song.
Song composer and husband John said the song carries a message of peace and is sung to present a different image of Papua New Guinea, an image he described as multicultural and could only be experienced in PNG. Toya said at one point he doubted he would release the song, but said he was grateful for the support of his wife Betty and her team.
So our aim is to welcome our brothers and sisters from South Pacific, and also we are here representing our small grassroots people who can afford to come to Port Moresby, or where the games are hosted. We represent them to do this song.
The song was released last night by the couple to a number of radio stations in Port Moresby.
So somehow me go meeting to plan because me stuff like it company to plan. Why? Because me like you simply to plan channel Papua New Guinea why? Because it plus all the time simply to plus I put in bed me man marry no place.
Takla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Well, former Acting Police Commissioner and High Commissioner to Solomon Islands, Fred Yakasa, has appealed to Port Moresby City residents to behave themselves for the duration of the Games. He has noticed that not much has been done in awareness to advise the public to behave towards our Pacific Islands visitors. As a diplomat serving the interest of Papua New Guinea in the Pacific region, Mr. Yakasa says Pacific Islanders are peace-loving people and Papua New Guineans must behave in a manner expected by them.
Appeal to our people to be of good behavior and be respectful to our visitors who are coming to our shores. They're here to enjoy the games as well as enjoy their country, but most importantly to see how we conduct ourselves as they are here.
His Royal Highness Prince Andrew visited the Bomana War Cemetery and the Don Bosco Technical Institute today. The Duke of York was given an official welcome at both visits. Prince Andrew has two more places to visit before he officiates at the opening of the 2015 Port Moresby Pacific Games tomorrow evening.
At 11 this morning, His Royal Highness, the Duke of York, was escorted into the Bomana War Cemetery outside Port Moresby, where he officiated at a wreath-laying ceremony. He was received by Defence Minister Fabian Park and PNG DF Commander Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo. He was later led to the ceremonial arena. Following a welcome speech, Prince Andrew laid a wreath in front of the war monument as a sign of appreciation for the soldiers who were killed during the Second World War. The prince was later led into the burial ground by Commander Toropo, where he paid his respect for those soldiers killed. After a 2-hour rest, Prince Andrew visited the Don Bosco Technical Institute at Tarama between 2 and 4 this afternoon and was well received by DBTS staff and students. The prince was led into 3 different workshops where he inspected, met and shook hands with some of the students. Before his departure, Prince Andrew addressed DBTI staff and students and said he acknowledges the work of Don Bosco in the region and wished them prosperous career in the respective fields they are in.
If I may just be so bold as to say that in many cases, the technical education that you are receiving is a stepping stone on the route to not only a personal career, but also a career that takes you at some stage into management. And everybody, it doesn't matter who they are, starts at the bottom. I started at the bottom when I joined the Navy. And I didn't go to university because when I was in the Navy, it was a technical education. And I think that the sorts of young people that come out of this sort of institution have far more potential than many who go through university.
Prince Andrew ended his visit by unveiling a plaque to commemorate his visit that coincided with the bicentenary of the Don Bosco mission. The Duke of York is expected to meet with government officials, including Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, this evening at Airways Hotel. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
And among more stories coming up after the break, provincial governments told to cut down on their spending, and Prime Minister Peter O'Neill reaffirms PNG's ties with the United States. Stay with us for those stories and more. Good to have you back with the news. All provincial governments have been urged to reduce their spending on administrative costs. This was the call from National Economical Fiscal Commission Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Hohora Suve. It's now time provincial governments must spend adequately on priority areas. EMTV's Fabian Huckelis files this report.
Mr. Suve made these remarks at the launching of the 2013 Provincial Expenditure Review in Leh today at the Highlands Regional Workshop. Titled Raising the Bar, it calls for spending to target priority areas in the provision of goods and service delivery.
Provinces must now spend less on administration and more on actual service delivery. All provinces, including resource-rich provinces, must spend more of the internal revenue on provision of service delivery.
Jiwaka Governor Dr. William Tongap speaking at the launching blamed leadership as threat and hindrance to service delivery in Papua New Guinea. Dr. Tongap also pointed out politicians' interference on the public service that often weakens the machinery.
In the last 3 years in office, I realized that there's too much involvement of politicians in service delivery. And I would think that this is one of the major causes why many of the services not reaching rural population.
Fabian Huckelis, National EMTV News, Leh.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says PNG will continue its mutual relationship with the United States of America. The Prime Minister said USA has huge investments in the country and this friendship will prosper. He made these statements while attending the 239th US Independence Celebration last night here in Port Moresby.
The USA community in Port Moresby gathered last night to celebrate the birth of the country. It was the 239th anniversary for this great nation who is now a superpower in the world. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was part of the celebration, stating PNG's connection in business investment through bilateral understanding is vital for economic growth.
Through some of the investments they continue to make in our country, including the LNG project that we have recently exported our first gas.
Mr. O'Neill said huge investments like the LNG project are project PNG must hail. He says PNG will proceed with its preparation in staging the 2018 APEC, where US will also be part of it.
Our two countries enjoy a very cordial and friendly relationship, which is based on trust and mutual respect.
Guest Speaker and Assistant Secretary to the US Government for East Asia Pacific Affairs, Danny Russell, said PNG and USA share many things in common.
We share not just the 4 years of history, but we share diversity. We share a pluralistic society. We share a commitment to democracy.
A toast was made by Prime Minister Peter O'Neill to signify USA's birth.
To the President and the people of the United States of America.
Jack Lapave Jr., National, EMTV News.
Well, there is more work to be done to improve benefits from the extractive industries to affected communities and to the national budget. This also includes policies and frameworks of the mining sector. This was highlighted at the closing of the second World Bank Technical Assistance Project for PNG's mining sector.
Papua New Guinea's mining sector is growing, but more work needs to be done to regulate the benefits of this industry. At the closing of the second phase of the World Bank Technical Assistance Project for PNG's mining sector, state agencies and regulatory bodies say more training is needed to guide the industry. The objective of the project is to improve benefits derived from the extractive industries so affected communities are not left out and proper procedures are followed, including revenues to the national purse. Funded by the World Bank, the second phase outlines the need for more assistance to support agencies like MRA, IRC and DMP-GM. DMP-GM Deputy Secretary Harry Corres says there is still outstanding priority projects that needs to be completed. These includes the review of Mining Act 1977, mining safety and mining regulation. MRA Managing Director Philip Summers said the government expects to write to the World Bank requesting a similar kind of assistance. IRC is also being challenged to build its capacity to audit mining companies operating in PNG. Jack Lapave Jr., National, EMTV News.
The father of a Polytech student who died of electrocution last month is now calling for investigation results on the cause of his son's death. Parent Michael Ayal questioned the Polytechnic administration on the safety and protection of students on campus. The deceased student was electrocuted by poorly insulated wires from a light pole.
So through this process, those people out in the background will come out of the woodwork. It will get shaken out, say who was the guy that did the wiring and all that. So that aspect of it is mentioned in that the demands and stuff I'm going to put through to National Polytech and the PPL that whoever was responsible need to be dealt with.
And now we check out the finance news. The Kina closed 10 points lower at $0.3635 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our Kina was trading at $0.3560 US, 0.4633 Australian dollars, 0.3172 euro, and 43.39 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, cocoa and copper closed lower while coffee closed the day higher. Palm oil, crude oil closed lower while copper closed the day higher. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 27 points lower, the ASX closed at 19 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 33 points higher as well. You're watching National EMTV News this Friday. We'll bring you stories making headlines overseas when we return. Stay tuned. Good to have you back with National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, the coach of one of Australia's most popular Australian rules club, the Adelaide Crows, Philip Walsh, was found murdered in his home early this morning. While the AFL fraternity has been severely rocked by this development, authorities have shifted their attention to his son.
It is alleged that his son, his 26-year-old son, was and has in fact been charged with Phil Walsh's murder. Now, this unspeakable, crime, which is, under investigation by the South Australian Police, has got a wide effect on the Australian football community. Australian rules football is a sort of sport that could be, the take-up of it, it is the most popular spectator sport in Australia. The take-up of it is comparable to, the take-up of soccer in Italy and that sort of thing. And so to lose a lead coach in such a horrible and unspeakable crime has had a profound impact on the entire football community, not just the players in which that Phil Walsh coached, but all different clubs. In fact, here at AFL headquarters, if I can just show you now, Natalie, just behind me here, there are 7 different football scarves representing 7 different AFL clubs that Phil Walsh took part in as either a player. He played 122 Australian rules games as a player and also as a coach for 4 different clubs. He ended his tenure as the senior coach of the Adelaide Crows when he began as coach there earlier this year. Now, as a mark of respect, and obviously given that many of his players are grieving his loss, a game that was scheduled to take place, an Australian rules football game that was scheduled to take place on Sunday between the Geelong Cats and the Adelaide Crows, that has been postponed out of respect, and that announcement was made a short time ago by the AFL CEO, Gillon McLachlan. Take a listen.
We know that the usual fun and passion of our game will not be there. We also know that our clubs, members and supporters will gather here in a spirit of respectful mourning in support for the family and friends of a great football man who is loved by so many.
So, Natalie, as the football community right across Australia mourns the loss of Phil Walsh, the police investigation is continuing. We're told that Phil Walsh's son has been charged with murder. He has faced a bedside hearing over in Adelaide, that capital of South Australia, remanded in custody to once again reappear in court later in the year. But no doubt, given that there was a football match scheduled to take place this weekend and football matches scheduled to take place over the coming days, including one tonight, Australian time, there will be many different tributes to Phil Walsh over the coming days.
Eliminating transmission of a virus is one of the greatest public health achievements possible. That was from Dr. Margaret Chan, the World Health Organization's Director General, who had said that about Cuba being the first WHO-approved country to eliminate the spread of HIV and syphilis. According to the Papua New Guinea Department of Health's 2011 to 2015 operational plan, 3.6% of total transmission statistics are via mother-to-child transmission. Like Papua New Guinea, Cuba has long been fighting to eliminate the mother-to-baby transmission of HIV and syphilis. Cuba's success came with support from the World Health Organization in partnership with the Pan American Health Organization. The joint initiative included early access to pregnant mothers for prenatal care and tests and drug treatments to avoid passing the disease from mother to baby. Well, US presidential candidate Donald Trump doesn't seem to be losing any sleep over his incendiary comments about undocumented immigrants, but that might be about to change.
America's largest mattress manufacturer, Serta, says it's severing its business relationship with Trump. Serta carries a line of Trump mattresses. Univision and NBC canceled their plans to broadcast the Miss Universe pageant, and the department store Macy's has cut its ties with Trump. He ignited a firestorm when he claimed that some Mexicans illegally entering the U.S. are drug dealers, killers, and rapists. He is showing no signs of backing down.
Well, back home, the Pacific Games have begun. We'll give you the results of day one of competition in basketball and touch rugby. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports.
Welcome to True Guy Sports. The Papua New Guinea men's touch team have set the pace in their opening campaign with a 24-1 victory over Kiribati. Our PNG women also thrashed Tonga 45-0.
Both the respective PNG men's and women's touch team have kick-started their campaign in the 2015 Pacific Games on a high note, securing marginal wins in their opening matches. In the Open Women's Division, the PNG women's touch team outclassed Tonga in their first match. Mari Mack secured her first touchdown of the games before Mari Alu and Joylyn Tikot added the next few points for PNG. By halftime, PNG had locked Tonga to a 14-0 lead. The scoreline for PNG continued in the second half, with Monica Teita and Mari Alu collecting 2 touchdowns apiece, before captain Diane Vetu closing the game for PNG 25-0 over Tonga. It was a similar encounter in the Open Men's Division, PNG holding off Cook Islands to a 7-point lead in the first half. And it was a clean set of wheels for PNG's William Ken, Marlon Stephen and Paul Matuta, all punching the flags before crossing the line. PNG defeating Cook Islands 17-2. Tomorrow in the Open Women's Division, PNG will face Samoa and our biggest rivals yet, Cook Islands, while in the Open Men's Division, PNG will face neighboring Solomon Islands. Scholar Sengi, National, EMTV Sports.
Well, Samoa and Kiribati were the first to kick off the men's Pacific Games basketball competitions at the BSP Arena today. Samoa dominated the game, coming out victorious in a 108-86 win in their Pool A match. Kiribati put up a good fight, but the Samoans proved too strong.
The Samoans were the first to post points on the board after a slow start from the Kiribati. Kiribati came back to score their first. A clinical display of basketball skills from Samoa's Theodore McFarland, who was outstanding in today's match. McFarland contributed greatly to the Samoans' win, with the enormous number of layups and dunks. Kiribati Cliff Collins also put up an entertaining match with his 3-pointers. His 3-pointers were not enough to secure a win, as the Samoans raced away to a 108-86 win. The match between New Caledonia and Papua New Guinea is set to be played at 7 o'clock tonight. The New Caledonians will be going in as favourites, being the defending champions from the last Pacific Games. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
Meanwhile, a gallant display by Papua New Guinea was not enough for the hosts, succumbing to a 1-0 loss to Pacific champions New Caledonia this afternoon in their opening soccer fixture. The hosts had been hoping that the home crowd advantage would be a bonus, but despite dominating the game, they were unable to make the most of it.
PNG had been looking to use the experience of playing together to show they had blended well. However, their combination from up front in strikers Patrick Isa and Tommy Semi failed to gel. PNG had their chances to score. However, with Isa missing from point-blank range. New Caledonia, however, made better use of their opportunities, and it was a header that would prove the difference between the two sides. PNG now faced the daunting prospect of facing New Zealand on Sunday. Shane, Saroya National, EMTV Sports.
New Zealand have opened their Pacific Games campaign by defeating Solomon Islands 2-0. The tournament favourites were dominant against the Solomon side.
Oceania heavyweights New Zealand had to be very patient against a talented Solomon Islands team, and it was after 30 minutes when Monty Patterson opened the scoring for the visitors.
Fenton wins it. Opportunity for New Zealand. A shot. It's in. New Zealand take the lead. Monty Patterson, I think. '29th minute, and New Zealand.
That lead by New Zealand was soon doubled 6 minutes later to striker Alex Rufer.
Second chance, and it's tucked away. Alex Rufer, 40th minute, New Zealand 2-0 up. Well, for a moment it looked as though the ball might ricochet to safety for the Solomon Islands, but Alex Rufer kept his head, persevered, and was given...
And it had to fall to the shoulders of Solomon Islands captain Tutizama Tanito, who thought he had set up Junior Faharado for the opening goal. But that wasn't to be. The halftime scores: New Zealand 2, Solomon Islands 0. In the day's opening fixture, Tahiti would trash the Federated States of Micronesia by an astonishing 30 goals to 0.
Comprehensive, one-sided victory for Tahiti, a record equaling victory.
Jeremy Moggy, National, EMTV Sports.
Swimming competitions will start on Tuesday at 10 a.m. This afternoon, we caught up with our golden swimmer Ryan Pinney and the rest of the PNG swim team. Details coming up after the break. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports.
Good to have you back with True Kai Sports. Tahiti took on Guam in the second basketball match of the 2015 Pacific Games. The match went down to the wire with both teams evenly matched. Tahiti had the advantage early on, capitalizing on every opportunity to score.
The second basketball match of the Pacific Games saw Tahiti take on Guam. Both teams were evenly matched right from the start in the first and second quarter. Tahiti held on to a narrow lead. Areri Marau Meul from Tahiti took control of the match, leading his team early to see them in front at the halftime break. The second half saw a great fight back from Guam, with tall center Jonathan Galloway taking charge and closing the margin in the third quarter. But the Tahitians held on for the remainder of the game to claim victory. The third match between Fiji and Nauru is currently underway. And the final match for the evening will see PNG play their first match against defending champions New Caledonia, which will prove to be exciting. Elijah Levette, National EMTV Sports.
PNG swim star and Commonwealth gold medalist Ryan Pinney was caught on camera training with the rest of the swimming team at the Tarama Aquatic Centre this afternoon. MTV's Godwin Eki caught up with Ryan and another PNG swim star and a Pacific Games medalist, Annalisa Mopio-Jane.
Swimming will officially kick off on Monday. As you can see, Papua New Guinea swimmers are going through a practice session to fine-tune their skills before they take on other countries.
Papua New Guinea's gold medal winner at the last Pacific Games, Ryan Pinney, was interviewed while training today at the Tarama Aquatic Centre with the rest of Team PNG.
Yeah, Pacific Games is always such a big event for me. It's over the last so many years of my life. It's so coming back here to swim my home country with the home crowd is just too good an opportunity to pass up, and really it's been such a big focus of my life in the last even over 4 years, where I've focused everything towards this preparation. So really looking forward to being able to get in here and have the home country behind me and see what I do best.
To represent her country on home soil was Annalisa Mopio-Jane.
It's been really good. Definitely been intense working on different skills that I'm going to use in the pool for Pacific Games, but I'm definitely looking forward to racing and seeing how I'm going to go.
Head coach of Fiji's swimming team, Sharon Smith, is confident about the team's preparation with the aim of pocketing more medals.
Basically to stay focused on what we come here for. That's to, not only do your best, but get out there and win medals.
Even though Ryan Pinney won 5 gold medals in the last Pacific Games in New Caledonia dominated swimming, but this time around, Ryan with the rest of the PNG swim team will have to better themselves to rival New Caledonia. Godwin Eki, National.
The UPNG Polyclinic has now been handed over to the 2015 Games Organising Committee to facilitate the athletes over the 2 weeks duration of the Games. The PNG government has funded the Games Organising Committee with 2.5 million kina in purchasing nearly 300 medical equipment specifically to attend to injuries during the Games.
The University of Papua New Guinea Polyclinic will now stand ready to assist and tend to some of the athletes and officials at the Games Village. This University of Papua New Guinea Polyclinic will be fully fitted with 298 worth of medical equipment sponsored by the government of Papua New Guinea, worth around 2.5 million.
The EMS has been contracted to look after the athletes, dignitaries, and the officials. So they will be utilized to refer to the general hospital when required. But for public at large and spectators will be taken care of by St. John's ambulance. And so we will distribute the patients accordingly. And anything beyond our scope will be referred to general hospital. All the details are already in order.
With 200 physio beds ready to be distributed to the Games venues to cater for emergency situations. For now, the clinic have 6 physio beds already in place and ready to attend to patients. However, in an event of a serious case that the clinic can't manage, they will refer it to Port Moresby General Hospital for further testing and diagnosis. There will be nurses and doctors on standby at the Port Moresby General Hospital ready to assist. Some of the doctors and nurses at the Port Moresby General Hospital have also volunteered to help at the clinic that will boost the medical support staff even further. The UPNG clinic has emergency room with 2 beds, a dental room for dental problems, a drug storage room, and also a pharmacy fully stacked with antibiotics and pharmaceuticals.
The health department is happy on behalf of and also the Port Moresby Hospital, our premier hospital in the country, the medical team from the organizing committee and the health department. We are happy to be here this morning at the University Polyclinic to hand over to the organizing committee the equipments that have been procured by the department through funding from our own government. And these equipments have come into our country in record time. I think in terms of procurement, I think this is one of the wonderful things that have happened. And we are now, for the medical team, we are now ready with this equipment arriving in the country. As you can see,
PNG basketball team will be the first athletes to test the equipments and also get free dental checks tomorrow at 7 p.m. Shane, Saroya National, EMTV Sports.
Well, True Guys Sports ends on that note. The weather details for the next 24 hours when we come back. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports.
We now take a quick look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In southern region, mostly fine expected in all centres. In Momase, cloudy periods expected in Lae and mostly fine in Madang. In the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau, fine although cloudy at times, Kavia and brief showers. And lastly, in the Highlands region, mostly fine expected in all centres. Well, that's how we wrap up the news, and with less than 24 hours away from the opening ceremony of the Pacific Games, EMTV will begin its telecast at 6:30, so you can keep watching. From the news team, I'm Tokana Asavi. Thanks for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.